So I flew from Vancouver to London. You have to find a way to get from that airport, Heathrow, I don't know, to Ryanair. Yeah, so I had to take the train, and it was like this escalator that went into the very center of the earth. It was so fucking deep. And I was like, with my big bag, and I'm like having a panic attack. I'm a country mouse. Anyways, I made my way and got on another train that was above ground that was really beautiful. Somehow I made it to Ryanair. Let's talk about jet lag. I was jetlags.com. And then I took my little Ryanair airplane to Saint Jean, Pied de Port, or however you say it. But it was so cute because that's the first time I glimpsed other pilgrims. We all looked exactly the same. We all had the exact same shoes, the exact same size backpack, like everything, but all the clothes, bag, and I'm like, we're all identical. So that's just the way it is. Like everyone tends to bring all the same stuff. The way I talk about the Camino is I always had little angels along the way helping me out, and you're gonna meet them too, and they're always these special people you'll remember for the rest of your life. It's really beautiful. And my first little angel was a woman named Frances, and she was from the UK. So I was the only one with this epic jet lag. And when we took the cab in, like my head was like falling down. It was really embarrassing, and I was just so tired. And I had nowhere to sleep that night. I don't know why. But luckily, Frances had booked a bed at some hostel, and she took me under her wing because I was just so beat. So she walked me over to her sweet little French hostel, and and this is how the Camino works. There was like one bed left, and I got it. So I paid in advance for a breakfast and lunch and snacks for the next day. So they made that for me, because you're gonna learn that every single day you have to make sure to take care of yourself while you're on the road, and you're gonna need lots of different like snacks and stuff to keep you going, because you're gonna be walking. But I mean, there's also places along the way to eat and stuff like that, and I'll walk you through all of that too. And I got my bed, and then we all went out for dinner, and that's where I learned about the pilgrims menu. When I got back to the hostel, my very first night, you've got to understand, the first day on the Camino, you have to cross the Pyrenees mountains. Like, just hearing about that scared the fuck out of me. Oh no, I'm swearing again, sorry. It's one of the most challenging days on the entire journey. So for some reason it's designed that day one, you're getting challenged right off the top. I remember laying down in my little bunk bed that very first night and like turning away from everyone and crying because I was so scared. Like I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I don't know if I can do this. And I'm a freaking introvert, and like being away from home was a big deal. Like I'm a homebody, so I was just like totally out of my comfort zone.com, maxed out. The guy beside me had like the sniffles, and instead of getting up and blowing his effing nose, he was sniffing like for hours, like, and I was just like, oh my God. So you're gonna learn right away. You're gonna be sharing rooms with people, chances are, unless you take the option where you pay a bit more for either rooms with less people or just completely solo rooms. And you just gotta deal with it. And hopefully you got your earplugs and your eye mask and you sleep well because you had lots of extra. But that first morning, I couldn't believe it, but you're gonna see this stuff happen. One of the girls in the room, the only person awake on day one, she got up, turned on her light. She must have been nervous. She got dressed, disturbing the rest of the room. No one's even stirring yet. And like sat with her light on in her bed, like reading, like, and like the rest of us were still sleeping. I remember looking over at her bunk bed going, what the hell is she doing? Like all sorts of stuff. The snoring, people getting up and talking like rudely. Jeez, there's a lot of information. I knew this was going to be amazing. So when you get to the Camino, you're going to see that many restaurants offer a pilgrims menu, which is at the time when I went 2014, it was 10 euros usually. And you'd get like a 5-course meal. And it changed from every single place. It was different, but it was exactly the same at the same time. Salad's always the same. It's like a really big, delicious salad, and it has tuna on it, corn, and other vegetables and stuff. And every single time you get a salad on the Camino, for some reason, it's that salad. They can't switch it up or anything. You can choose between wine or water. What would you choose? Guess what I chose? Yeah, so you get a pilgrim's menu, and it's designed for pilgrims. It's an affordable meal. They design it because they know you're working out all day. The dessert, you'll get ice cream or a piece of cake or something. With all that wine, you have a really good night's sleep. And there was coffee and tea, and then there's just jam and butter, I think. And that was breakfast. I think. I'm like, what? But luckily I had prepaid for a lunch and snacks. And, I would have been screwed if I hadn't got paid for them to do that, because I would have died of starvation. You leave and go to a particular building in this village, and that's where all the people are that receive you, volunteers that receive you, give you your passport book. They give you your very first stamp. There's shells you can buy. The scallop shell is a symbol of the Camino that all the pilgrims have hanging off their bags. Get your shell, and then you walk out that door and you start the Camino. And it's a trip, okay? You walk through these archways and you sort of just go. I was still with Frances, my first little angel. So we started together, but I could tell right away, like, I was gonna be way faster than her. I just naturally walk really fast. Eventually, she just we separated. I kept going up ahead, and that's the last time I saw her. So as I'm heading up, to cross the frickin' Pyrenees, you're sort of going up, and this French countryside is falling down below you. It's getting higher and higher, and there's beautiful little French houses, and there's meadows and cows, and it was quite misty and foggy that day. So I didn't get to see the incredible view from the top, but it was so beautiful anyway. It was so beautiful. I was just bawling my eyes out basically, because it was just traveling on foot in the French countryside, sweating your ass off, you're just my face was bright red. I was just in total absolute bliss and ecstasy. It's such an incredibly beautiful exercise for life. Keep going and going and going and going, and I'm gonna just tell a little anecdote that I thought of my friend Sparkling Joy that passed away, that reason why I was on the Camino. And I asked her, are you here with me? And I just got the message that I'm in all the flowers. And when I looked around, don't start crying. I know you're gonna start crying. It was the whole earth was covered in daisies, just everywhere. And there's wildflowers, growing all the way across Spain. It's really beautiful, poppies and all. So I just bawling and hiking and sweating and crying, but in a beautiful way. It was so amazing. You just keep climbing and climbing and climbing. It gets steeper and steeper. And by the way, I went for all of June. It was so beautiful. You just keep going. And then eventually it appeared that I reached the top of the Pyrenees. So I sat down. I'm sweating bullets, you will find out. It's a climb. I found a spot to sit and pulled out my lunch and just started chomping. And my body temperature just went boo! In 2 seconds, my teeth started chattering. My lips felt like they went blue. And I was like, oh my God, fuck! So I, put my food down, dug out my warm clothes, and it actually started raining a tiny little bit, which it rained less than 2 days on my entire trip. I just got super duper blessed, thank God, because it would suck so bad if it rained. That one day was such a drag. I put on my waterproof clothing and just like started walking again because I didn't want to get like pneumonia or anything. You can just sort of remember like you kind of go up and over and then the path just goes down and it's like rocks and I was like hopping, climbing, scuttling down, and then you end up in a forest and there are big rain puddles that you have to kind of go around. And then the most incredible thing, so this is day one, you get through this forest. It's kind of spooky because of the weather and I'm a single woman and I was like, you just have to keep going. But then you come out of the forest and there's a clearing. It just says Roncesvalles or however you pronounce that very first day. Come out to this clearing and I'm like, is this, did I do it? Did I? Like I wasn't even like 100% sure and I just sort of wandered down this path and this giant monastery comes into sight. And I was like, holy, I couldn't believe I did it. I did day one. I made it, you know? It was absolutely mind-blowing. So I wandered up to this giant old monastery that they've converted into an albergue. Went inside and then you just sort of follow the other people that are there before you. Went and got maybe that was the first stamp, was given my bed number. Went up to my bunk bed, which is a brand new facilities. They're like absolutely beautiful. And that's when I met my second angel in the bunk room. He was underneath me and I had the upstairs bunk. So he was this fucking hysterical Italian man whose name I cannot remember. I don't know why. He was so funny. And he was such a beautiful like angel. I just keep saying that. But so I don't remember exactly, but I went to like crawl up into the bed to have a siesta and he goes, "No, shower first." And I was like, okay. And I'm so glad he told me that because I'm a fast walker, I was one of the first people to get to the albergue, and you know, it would have been really busy if I had done it later. So I went, had my shower, washed my socks for the first time, and every day, you know, you wash the socks you wore. A lot of the paths and trails are super dusty, dirty, or they're mud or dust or whatever. Got back to my bed, and that dude was there, and then I had a full-on siesta, plus jet lag. Holy bajoli. And so when I woke up, that Italian guy was sitting, I think he was sitting on the bed eating like trail mix or something, and he basically said, "Get dressed, let's go for a beer," or something like that. And I was like, okay. So apart from that giant monastery is this other house, and there was like a crackling fire going, and there was a place to get a beer, and they had Spanish tortilla, which is like frittata. It's egg and potatoes. It's really delicious. It's a common thing to eat there in Spain. And we just sat down. I sat down with my new buddy, and we had a beer. He bought me a beer, and we had shared some tortilla, and just sort of got to know each other. He had like almost zero English, and I had zero Italian, and somehow he was like making me laugh so hard, and it was so incredible. And there was a big hall that the door opened and they let us all in. There was all these giant round tables and we all sat at these tables and we got a huge meal, and everyone's from all over the world. It was really cool. And then, you know, you get back to your bunk bed and have your sleep and get ready to get up at like 5 or 5:30 the next day to start the Camino. So that was day one. Roughly. I'm going to shoot a quick video about boots. And you're going to read this, when you're researching your Camino, and you're going to see forums and this and that and that and that about what boots to wear and blah. I cannot stress it more. Do not wear brand new boots on the Camino. And we're talking hiking boots. I personally wear Vasque, V-A-S-Q-U-E. I've had 2 pairs. The pair I took on the Camino, I had been hiking dogs in them and just hiking for like 9 years. That's how well seasoned they were. 9 years. So they're like old, but it was like perfect because I had 2 tiny blisters the entire Camino. I am not exaggerating. I had epic shin splints, which I'll tell you about another time, and everybody gets injured. Like something happens to every single person. Your back might go out, your knees, you get sick, you're this, you're that. And most people get blisters, like bad blisters. I met people that had blisters all on the bottoms of their feet, all over. And you see pilgrims limping around the village, and you know they're on the Camino because everyone's limping. Little groups of injured. But so I highly recommend you wear old boots, or well seasoned, not 3 months, not 6, like wear well used hiking boots. I highly recommend that. Wear well used hiking boots if you want to have a happy Camino. I'm telling you, don't do what my friend did. She bought those brand new boots and thought she was going to go on the Camino. It would have been a disaster.